I'm Christine. We're going to do a quick yoga and mobility practice. If you have yoga blocks, go ahead and grab them. If not, you'll be able to use your hands, or if you have like a flat top water bottle or a couple of books, you can use those just to provide you with a little bit of extra support. So as you're ready, we're going to start lying on our backs. I like to begin in constructive rest. That's bringing the knees together and walking the feet apart, so we don't have to have much effort in the legs, right? The shape kind of just holds them up. And the arms can rest down by your sides. And check in and see how this feels for you. Perhaps resting your hand somewhere on your torso will feel better, or maybe you'll want to start in Shavasana with your legs out long. Right, so just pick a place and start to move towards stillness. You need to do a little bit of shifting and rocking before that. It's totally fine. Right, just start to tune in. And then if it works, you can settle and start to get quiet. And take a breath. Let it go. And do that again. Maybe take a little bit more air in. And sigh it out. So if it works for your practice, you can start to cultivate a slow and steady breath in and out of the nose. And perhaps it works to not change your breath and just notice it as we move through the practice. Just take a couple moments, work with your breath. Feel your body on the floor. And if there are thoughts or feelings that are still present, notice them. You don't have to shove them away. Right, and perhaps this practice can make a little bit more space between thoughts and feelings. So as you're ready, if you want, you can hug your knees into your chest. You can rock around a little bit side to side. And then if you have your yoga block, you're gonna grab it. If not, you can make two fists and put two fists in between your knees. So we're gonna focus on internal hip rotation to start off. So you can bring your shins to about parallel with the floor. Hold on to the block. You can rest your arms down by your sides, easy in the shoulders. And what we're gonna do here is wing the ankles off to the sides, right? So without changing really anything else, right? You're thinking about rolling your inner thighs forward as if it were like a Pez dispenser, and you could push, right, the piece of Pez forward, right? And then there's a lot of work in the outer hips, even if your ankles haven't gone very far. Oof. Right? Feel the effort of trying to move your ankles out to the sides without your knees moving, right? So your knees stay over your hips. You can give it a couple more breaths. If you need to come out, right? We're never moving into pain in our practice. Or maybe you could find a little bit more effort to try to move your ankles off to the sides. Okay, one more moment. And then you can gently put it down. And then again, if you want to walk your feet out, you can then windshield wipe your legs from side to side. From there, feet onto the mat. And then cross your right ankle over your left knee. So come into a thread the needle shape with your legs. We're not going to hold this for a long time. If it's available, right here, you might feel enough stretch in your right hip and you don't have to change it. Otherwise, take a breath in, and then as you breathe out, start to pick your left foot off the floor. So your left knee is moving up towards your face, and your right knee is moving away from your face, and that effort is coming from inside your hips. So give it a couple breaths. Thinking about left knee in and right knee away. And make sure it's not tweaking in your right knee, right? Move out of that. If it's too much, go back to where you started to make that pain go away. And hold it for a few more breaths. That's it, one more. And then gently put it down. If you want, you can uncross your right leg and just give it a little shake. And we'll switch. Right foot onto the floor, left ankle on top. Right, so move your left knee away. Start there. If your left hip needs more, it might not need much. Right, you can pick your right foot up a little bit or a lot of it up off the floor. And then same thing, we're here for a couple breaths. Right knee moving in, left knee moving away. As if you're working with your controlled breath, right? Keep it steady. Or if you're just watching your breath, watch it, notice it. And just make sure you haven't stopped breathing. And a couple more moments. Drive your right knee in, move your left knee away with the strength of your hips. One more breath. All right, slowly put it down. And then again, maybe left leg goes long and gets a little bit of a shake. And you can catch both knees. Might feel good to start to rock up and down your spine. For some of us, it doesn't feel great, and you can roll over and press yourself up. So either way, come to seated. Sit in a way that's comfortable for you, and then grab your yoga block another time. Right? If you don't have a block, you can use an imaginary block for this. Just hold your arms out in front. Right? Hold the block with flat hands rather than gripping your fingers around the side of the block. So it's really your arms doing the work more than your hands. From here, spine up nice and tall. We're gonna start to take the block up overhead, right? And you wanna stop where you start to move into a back bend, right? So without your ribs moving forward or your bum moving back, if you need to reset, and move your arms up. So arms are reaching nice and long, stable through your core. And then find your end range of shoulder flexion, hold it, and imagine moving the block further overhead without opening up your rib cage, right? Without kicking your booty back behind you. And hold it for a couple breaths. If you move into a pinch point in your shoulders, you can bring the block lower, right? You could also take your hands wider. You can try both and see what works in your body. A couple more breaths wherever you are. I'm starting to feel some heat in your shoulders, maybe a little bit of shaking. Nice and long through the arms, right? Straight elbows, straight fingertips, press the block. Take one more breath. And then gently put it down. Right? Find tabletop, hands and knees. And then take a couple breaths here. Right? Spread out your fingers. And you can move through cow and cat pose a few times if you'd like. Okay. I usually do something to wake up the wrists and the forearms a little bit. So you could trace some big circles and go both ways. Right, you can also turn your hands backwards and rock a little forward and back or make circles that way. Take one more breath. And then come back and around. Tabletop. So index fingers point forward or slightly off to the sides. Start to push down into your hands and down into your shins. Feel your front body rise up to support your back body. Keep that and step your feet back into plank, top of a push-up, and then pause there for a moment and move your body as long as you can from your heels out to the crown of your head. Another breath like this. Stay really open in your collarbones, broad across your shoulder blades. Put a little slack in your knees. And then pull your hips up and back into a downward facing dog. So spine nice and long. Try not to automatically dump into your shoulders. Just if you keep the chest and the upper back broad, that should hopefully help that from happening. And then you could drop one heel and then the other to start to stretch your calves, your ankles, and up into your hamstrings. And give it another moment. I can already feel myself buckling in the shoulder joints, really broadening across the chest and the upper back. And then back into plank, top of push-up. Knees on or off the mat. Push down into your hands and then lower with control. Keep pushing the floor away as you come down. Flip your toes back, peel your chest up a little bit for baby cobra. And then just to make sure your back is working, try to lift your hands up off the floor. If they don't clear the floor, no problem, but take some weight out of your hands. Think about drawing your elbows back and your heart further forward. Flare your toes and press your toenails down. Another breath. And then lower. You can take a half push-up or a full push-up to the top of plank. And then walk it back into a child's pose. Your hands can slide back, hips fall toward heels. And soften your forehead down. You can also stack your fists or your hands and have a place to rest your head. You can also slide a block underneath your face. Take one more breath. And then back into tabletop. Spread out your fingers. And then down dog, hips up and back. Easy on your neck. Take a breath. And from there, pull your right knee up into your nose. Round your back. Do a little crunch. And then quietly step your right foot close to your right thumb. And stay on your back toes. Lift into a crescent lunge. Allow the back knee to bend so you can pick up the front of the pelvis and sink your tailbone down. Hands can stay at hips, or imagine you're holding that yoga block and rise your arms up without moving into a back bend. From here, find the effort in your pelvis, like you could tuck your tailbone under you, and then at the same time, move your left thigh bone back in space. So you're creating resistance, trying to straighten the left leg, but the work of the tailbone under is prohibiting that. And hopefully then creating some space in the front of your left hip. Take one more breath. And then as you breathe out, bring your hands down to the floor. Right, either pick your left thigh up with some vigor, or if you want to put your back knee down, put it down. And twist left hand to the floor or onto a block. And right hand up to the ceiling. Sometimes I pause right hand on right thigh to really move into the rotation. And then take the right fingertips high. Right, try not to dump into your left shoulder, push down into the floor. From here, you could play with tucking the back toes and lifting the back thigh if you're interested. Take a big breath. And then bring your right hand down. Take it back into plank, top of a push-up from there. You have options. You can hold your plank. You could come into a child's pose, hips to heels, or you can move through your vinyasa, lowering with control. Using your back to open up across your chest. And then to down dog. Or if you want to replace down dog with tabletop, you could stay here in tabletop until we do the other side. Right. So from there, if you opt to do that, either from down dog or hands and knees, pull your left hand into your nose, push down into your hands, and then step your left foot close to your left thumb. Or you can find crescent from there, get onto your back toes, slacken the back knee, and then bring yourself up nice and tall. So if you'd like hands to hips, you can also feel that both your frontal hip bones are pointing forward instead of your left hip a little forward and your right hip a little back, which can happen sometimes. And then think about lifting the front of the pelvis and sinking the back. That's it. Have a breath. Right, work your back thigh bone back as you work your tail under. Try to open up the front of your right hip. And then if you want to, find that imaginary block. Right, keep your ribs in and rise up through your arms. And then notice your breath. Take one more, and then bring your hands down around your front foot. Same options as before, back knee up or down, block under your right hand perhaps, and then twist to the left. So your left hand could hold onto the knee to start, right ribs to left inner thigh to right ribs, and then you can take your top hand up. Good. If you've got the back thigh up, really try to lift it up and bend into your front knee. Last breath like this. And then both hands come down. Again, step back to plank. Wrist creases lined up with the front edge of your mat. Pause for a moment, and then what do you need? Or maybe a child's pose. Take your hips back. If you want to take another vinyasa, use your exhale to lower down to the floor. And inhale to come into your back bend. And then exhale to take you back to down dog. And then we'll all meet out in plank, right? Kneeling plank or full plank. Big breath in. And then slow lower to the floor. Good. From here, point your toes, zip your legs together. Run your arms down by your sides, squeeze your arms in, take a breath, and then make yourself as long as you can. Really point your toes, feel your kneecaps lift, strong quads, feel the top of the head move forward, and then start to lift up off the floor. Shoulder heads lift, squeeze your buns, lift your toes, and then lift your hands like you've caught a yoga block over your bum. Reach your fingertips back, your toes back, and your heart forward. Right, go for length. Once you have length, you can go for height. No pinching pain in your back. Your back is definitely working. Take one more breath, and then lower yourself down. Your hands can come out into a pillow. You can turn one cheek down, chin or forehead down. Take a breath wherever you are, and let it go. From there, hands underneath your shoulders, underneath your elbows. Push yourself up and back, and lean into a child's pose for another moment. Feel the rise and fall of your breath. And then lift yourself up. Sweep your legs out in front of you. I'll turn sideways so you can see me. Soles of the feet together and knees apart. So you want to feel your sitting bones down onto the mat. And then sit yourself up nice and tall, right? If your knees are up really high, you can grab your block. We're gonna have a block, a little pillow, or a little bit of a blanket. And then you could do this pose, right? With the edge of your sitting bones, with a little bit of a lift. And this could be enough, just sitting up really tall, feeling the opening through the inner thighs. If you want more, hinge forward with a flat back. Your hands could be on your ankles, your feet, or on the floor out in front of you. Take a couple breaths to soften. Maybe close your eyes. And then you can walk your hands back. Lift yourself up nice and tall. Help yourself off of a prop if you're on one. And then spin so you're on your bum and your feet are on the floor. And catch your shins and make your spine as tall as you can. Easy on the shoulders, long in the neck. Reach your arms forward and then lay yourself down onto the floor as slowly as you can. So you can start to tuck your tailbone. Keep reaching your fingertips forward. And as if you could put your spine down onto the floor, vertebra by vertebra, right? Slowly, 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 come all the way down. And then let your arms rest. From there, it could be nice, just let your legs go long right into Shavasana. You can feel that for a moment, right? Maybe you need to kind of tuck your shoulder blades under you. Maybe there's something else you want before you rest into Shavasana, so it's your choice. Take a moment to notice. Right, you can stay in Shavasana for as long as you like. I'm going to come up to sit. Right, another option would be to take a seated meditation. You can find a comfortable cross of the legs. Again, you could sit on the edge of a blanket or a yoga block, right, to help take some stress out of the hips and a little more ease in letting the spine come up tall. So I'll be quiet for about a minute right now. You can close your eyes if you'd like, or let your eyes just kind of cast down and your eyelids be heavy. And then together we can take a really big breath in. Fill your whole body with breath. And then sigh out your mouth. And without controlling your breath anymore, can you just feel it rise and fall? So you're welcome to stay in Shavasana or your seated meditation for as long as you like. Whenever you feel ready to move, go slowly and gently. You can start by just moving your fingers or your toes, and then spend a little time on your back and maybe a little time on your side before you bring yourself up to sit. If you'd like, you could meet your hands at your heart, eyes open or closed. Just take another mindful breath. And if you'd like, you can gently bow into yourself. I bow to you. Thank you for joining me and for sharing your practice.